Arthur Finch considered himself a pragmatist, a man of quiet routine, a purveyor of the mundane, which was precisely why his chosen class in the system was a constant, ironic joke to his few acquaintances, Ghost Hunter. Not the heroic, monster-slaying kind, but the urban legend, debunking, thermal camera-wielding kind. His primary skill, Ecto-Scan Minor, was mostly used to find cold spots in drafty old houses, and Spirit Ward Basic was little more than a strong ward against actual dust bunnies. Name, Arthur Finch class. Ghost Hunter, Apprentice. Level 3, 450, 1000 EXP. Primary attributes Wisdom, WIS, 15 for rational deduction and pattern recognition. Intelligence, INT, 14 for understanding spectral phenomena. Dexterity, Dex, 10 for quick movements, mostly to avoid tripping. Presence, PRE, 8. He was not intimidating in the slightest. Core skills, Ecto-Scan, Minor, Active. Detects faint ethereal energy signatures in a small radius. Mana cost 5, Spirit Ward, Basic, Active. Creates a weak temporary barrier against minor spiritual influences. Mana cost 10, Spectral Resistance, Passive. Grants a minor resistance to fear and possession from low-level spectral entities. Debunking Theory, Passive. Aids in identifying logical explanations for paranormal phenomena. Arthur's current hunt involved a cat. Specifically, the supposedly spectral cat of Mrs. Gable, who swore her beloved Fluffy, deceased for a year, was still knocking over vases. Arthur, equipped with his system-issued thermal camera, more advanced than a mundane one but still mostly useless, found a draft from a loose window frame. He filed his report, earned a paltry 15 EXP, and went home to his quiet, orderly apartment. It was Halloween night. The air was crisp, scented with wood smoke and anticipation. Children in elaborate costumes roamed the streets, their laughter carrying on the wind. Arthur naturally had no plans. He was making tea and preparing to watch a documentary on medieval tax laws when it happened. The system flickered. Not just his interface, but the very fabric of reality. The neat, transparent overlays of quests, skill bars, and notifications that were a constant presence in everyone's vision shimmered, distorted, and then shifted. It was like watching a television screen glitch, but the glitch was the world. The streetlights outside pulsed with an eerie green luminescence. The laughter of the trick-or-treaters abruptly cut short, replaced by a strange, echoing silence. Then, the true horror began. Arthur's Ecto-Scan Minor flared violently. His vision filled with a chaotic symphony of ethereal energy signatures. They weren't faint. They were everywhere. The very walls of his apartment pulsed. The air shimmered with unseen forms. He looked out his window. The street, moments ago filled with innocent children, was now bathed in an otherworldly glow. And the children, they were no longer simply children. Their costumes, once fabric and plastic, had taken on a terrifying, almost sentient life. A small boy dressed as a zombie stumbled, but then his movements became jerky, unnatural. His eyes behind the mask glowed with an eerie green light. The fake blood on his costume seemed to pulse. A girl in a witch outfit let out a shriek that was too guttural, too ancient for a child, and her broomstick twitched. Hovering an inch off the ground, the system interface, which had been frozen, suddenly updated with a terrifying universal message: alert, system integrity. Compromised, veil between realms. Breached, catastrophic event, the Spectral Convergence, warning living entities. Exposed to unstable ectoplasmic resonance, beware of possession and corruption. New threat, Spectral. Entities have manifested physically. Elimination is possible. New resource, ectoplasm. Collect for survival and power. New class category. Spectral-infused classes available. New quest. Survive the Spectral Convergence. Arthur dropped his teacup. It shattered, but the sound seemed oddly muffled, distant. He could see faint, shimmering outlines in the air, shifting like heat haze. These weren't residual hauntings. These were spirits. Thousands of them. And they were here. His Ecto-Scan Minor skill pulsed painfully in his mind, trying to process the sheer volume of ethereal energy. His spectral resistance, passive, was struggling to maintain his composure. He felt a cold dread seep into his bones, a feeling far beyond mere fear. A disembodied moan echoed through his apartment, vibrating through the floorboards. A shadowy hand, transparent and clawed, reached out from the wall. Arthur, a man who had dedicated his life to debunking, was now face to face with undeniable, terrifying reality. His useless class suddenly wasn't useless. It was his only hope. New quest, personal survival. Description: your apartment is now a hub of spectral activity. Escape to a safer location. Objective: clear spectral entities from your immediate vicinity and reach the street. Reward: 50 EXP, 10 ectoplasm. Failure: possession, death. He pulled out his thermal camera. It didn't just show cold spots now. It showed dozens of swirling, indistinct forms, some faint, some shockingly clear. He could hear their whispers, their moans, their ancient sorrows. He needed a weapon. His ghost hunter kit contained a few mundane tools: a salt shaker, useless, a flashlight, also useless against spirits, and a small, ceremonial silver dagger meant for cleansing artifacts. He'd never actually used it. He grabbed the dagger. Its silver blade, usually dull, now shimmered with a faint blue light in the oppressive ectoplasmic haze. The system recognized it. Item identified: ceremonial silver dagger. Effect: minor ectoplasmic disruption. New attack skill. Acquired: spectral strike, basic. Active: a melee attack with a silver or specially enchanted weapon that can temporarily disrupt weak spectral entities. Mana cost. Aid Arthur, the man who meticulously filled out forms, now found himself clutching a glowing dagger, facing an invisible enemy. The apartment door, normally a sturdy barrier, was now vibrating with unseen force, clearly under attack from something on the other side. He had to move. He had to fight. His world had just become a haunted LitRPG, and he was the unwilling protagonist. The door shattered inwards, ripped from its hinges by an unseen force. A wave of spectral energy washed into the apartment, carrying with it the chilling scent of ozone and decay. Arthur stumbled back, raising his glowing silver dagger. Through the broken doorway, he saw them. Swirling masses of transparent energy, some vaguely humanoid, others amorphous blobs of dread. These were minor phantoms, the lowest tier of spectral entity, but terrifying in their sheer numbers. Their moans created a dissonant hum that vibrated in his very bones. Minor phantom level: 1. Health, 20. Ectoplasmic energy, 10 abilities, minor chill touch. Fear aura, weak. His spectral resistance, passive, kicked in, making him slightly less paralyzed by the immediate terror. He gripped the dagger, channeling a surge of mana. "For Mrs. Gable's vases," he muttered, a desperate attempt at humor. He lunged. Spectral strike, basic, flashed. The silver dagger, guided by instinct, connected with the swirling mass of a minor phantom. It didn't cut in the traditional sense. Instead, the phantom screamed, a sound that existed more in his mind than in his ears and dissipated in a puff of cold mist. Minor phantom defeated. "You have gained 5 EXP. You have gained 1 ectoplasm." Arthur's heart hammered. He had actually done it. He had fought a ghost. More phantoms surged forward. He fought clumsily, his movements unpracticed. He dodged a minor chill touch, feeling a sudden intense cold where it passed through him. His mana reserves dwindled rapidly as he swung again and again, each spectral strike costing him precious energy. He was a clerk, not a warrior. He remembered his spirit ward, basic. Desperate, he focused, extending his hand. A faint, shimmering barrier of blue energy appeared around him, pushing back the closest phantoms. It held for a few precious seconds, giving him time to catch his breath. Spirit ward, basic, has taken 5 ectoplasmic damage. The phantoms continued to press. He knew he couldn't hold them off forever. He had to escape. He saw an opening, a slight thinning in their ranks, and he bolted. He burst out of his apartment and into the hallway, leaving the spectral swarm temporarily contained by his ward. The entire apartment building was a nightmare. The walls pulsed with green light. Ghostly figures drifted through the air, some weeping, some screaming. Furniture floated, then crashed. His neighbors' doors hung open, revealing more horrors within. He saw a shadowy figure dragging a terrified NPC resident down a corridor. He navigated the chaos, using ectoscan, minor, to find paths of least resistance, avoiding the denser concentrations of spectral energy. He made it to the stairwell, adrenaline pumping through his veins. The street, when he finally reached it, was not the relief he hoped for. It was a carnival of terror. The colorful Halloween decorations, fake cobwebs, plastic skeletons, grinning pumpkins, had twisted into grotesque living things. The fake cobwebs now shimmered with real ectoplasm. The plastic skeletons twitched, trying to animate. The pumpkin lanterns glowed with an eerie internal green light, their carved faces stretching into malevolent grins, and the children in their costumes. Many of them were gone, or transformed. The zombie kid was now a full-blown lesser corrupted, shambling mindlessly, its costume fused to its flesh, its eyes glowing with spectral energy. The witch girl was leading a small coven of possessed puppets, formerly innocent dolls and action figures, now animated by malevolent spirits. Lesser corrupted, humanoid, level 5, health 80, ectoplasmic energy, 30 abilities, spectral grab, weak possession attempt, possessed puppet level, 3 health, 40 ectoplasmic energy, 15 abilities, minor impale, ectoplasmic drain. Arthur was overwhelmed. His dagger could barely handle a minor phantom. He couldn't fight these things. He had to find somewhere safe, somewhere less haunted. He noticed a group of NPC survivors huddled in an abandoned storefront, their faces pale with terror. They were just ordinary people, no system classes, no combat skills. They needed help. He couldn't abandon them. New optional quest: protect the survivors. Description: a small group of NPCs are trapped and vulnerable. Protect them from the spectral threat. Objective: clear the immediate area around the storefront and establish a temporary safe zone. Reward: 100 EXP, 20 ectoplasm, potential, favor of the system. Failure: death of NPCs, overrun by spectral entities. He had to upgrade. He had to adapt. His Ghost Hunter class was too weak. He looked at his inventory. He had collected 5 ectoplasm from the phantoms. The system had mentioned spectral-infused classes. He opened his class menu. A new section, shimmering with spectral energy, had appeared. Many options were grayed out, requiring more ectoplasm or higher levels. But one was available. Class upgrade available. Ecto-Technician. Requires 5 ectoplasm. Level 3. Description: a specialized Ghost Hunter class focused on understanding, manipulating and engineering ectoplasmic energy. Grants access to crafting and offensive ectoplasmic skills. Effect: upgrade. Ectoscan, minor, to ectoscan, advanced. Gain: ectoblast, basic. Gain: ectoplasm crafting, tier 1. This was it. A more offensive, more practical path. He confirmed the upgrade. A surge of cold, tingling energy coursed through him. His mind felt sharper. His understanding of the spectral energies around him deepened. His old thermal camera, still clutched in his hand, seemed to hum with new power. You have successfully upgraded your class to Ecto-Technician Apprentice. You have gained 50 EXP. Your class-specific skills have been updated. Ectoscan, advanced. Active. Detects all ethereal energy signatures in a wider radius. Can identify spectral entity types and weaknesses. Mana cost 10. Spirit ward, basic. Active. No change yet. Spectral resistance, passive. No change yet. Debunking theory, passive. No change yet. New skill acquired. Ectoblast, basic. Active. A concentrated burst of ectoplasmic energy that can damage and briefly stun spectral entities. Mana cost 15. New skill acquired. Ectoplasm crafting, tier 1. Passive. Allows the creation of basic ectoplasm-infused items and tools. He looked at the lesser corrupted, shambling towards the storefront, and the possessed puppets skittering behind it. He now had an offensive ability. He raised his free hand, aimed at the lesser corrupted, and focused his mana. A pale green bolt of pure ectoplasmic energy shot from his palm, striking the creature squarely in the chest. The lesser corrupted staggered, its spectral aura flickering wildly. It wasn't destroyed, but it was stunned, temporarily disoriented. The possessed puppets paused. Arthur felt a flicker of grim satisfaction. He was no longer just a clerk. He was an Ecto-Technician, and he had survivors to protect. The Ectoblast Basic had bought Arthur a few crucial seconds. The lesser corrupted was momentarily disoriented, its shambling gait broken. He knew it wouldn't last. The possessed puppets were still advancing, their tiny impaling attacks surprisingly potent. He needed to create a safe zone. His mind, sharpened by his new class, raced through the possibilities. He still had his spirit ward, Basic, but it was weak. He needed something stronger, something more permanent. He looked at the storefront, a cluttered antique shop. Dust and old wood, but his ectoscan advanced showed something else. The shop was filled with latent ethereal energy, memories clinging to old objects, faint spiritual echoes from forgotten lives. It was weak, scattered ectoplasm, but it was there. His new ectoplasm crafting, Tier 1 skill, the system explained, allowed him to channel and solidify ambient ectoplasmic energy into simple constructs. He just needed a focus. His eyes fell on a display of old, ornate oil lamps. Perfect. Everyone, help me, Arthur yelled to the terrified NPC survivors. Gather those lamps. Any lamps, any containers. The survivors, startled but desperate, began scrambling, grabbing lamps, jars, even old lanterns. Arthur took a half-dozen oil lamps, placed them in a circle around the storefront entrance, and focused his mana. He activated Ectoplasm Crafting, Tier 1, feeding it ambient ectoplasmic energy and a small amount of his own stored ectoplasm. Ectoplasmic Sigil, Basic, crafted. Description: a simple ectoplasm-infused warding sigil created from ambient energy and a focus object. Deters weak spectral entities. Mana cost 20 per sigil. Requires 2 ectoplasm per sigil. A faint, shimmering green light pulsed from the first lamp. He repeated the process, forming a circle of 6 lamps, each glowing with the same eerie, protective light. The air around the storefront shimmered, forming a faint, ethereal barrier. It wasn't strong, but it was enough to make the minor phantoms hesitate. The lesser corrupted snarled, its corrupted aura struggling against the ectoplasmic wards. Stay inside the circle, Arthur commanded the survivors, who huddled together, gazing at him with a mixture of awe and fear. He still had to deal with the lesser corrupted and the possessed puppets. His mana was dangerously low. He only had enough for 1 or 2 more ectoblasts. He used Ectoscan Advanced on the lesser corrupted. His vision zoomed in, highlighting weak points in its corrupted aura, nodes where its ectoplasmic energy was less stable. He saw a shimmering green knot on its chest, right where its human heart would have been. He aimed, focused, and fired a precise Ectoblast Basic. The bolt hit the knot with an audible crackle. The lesser corrupted let out a guttural shriek, its form dissolving into a larger puff of cold mist. Lesser corrupted, humanoid, defeated. You have gained 25 EXP. You have gained 5 ectoplasm. Now only the possessed puppets remained, their tiny, sharp attacks an irritating nuisance. He quickly used Spectral Strike Basic on them, one after another, their small forms puffing into mist with less effort. Possessed puppet defeated. 3. You have gained 15 EXP. You have gained 3 ectoplasm. The immediate area was clear. The ectoplasmic sigils pulsed, holding back the ambient spectral chaos. The NPC survivors let out a collective sigh of relief. Optional quest: protect the survivors, complete. You have gained 100 EXP. You have gained 20 ectoplasm. Favor of the system granted. Reputation with local human faction increased. Reputation with Oakhaven Town, disgruntled civilian faction, has reached neutral. New skill acquired. Group morale boost, minor. Active. A short, calming ectoplasmic hum that temporarily reduces fear and improves focus in nearby allies. Mana cost 10. Arthur felt a small surge of pride. He had actually helped people. He had used his ridiculous class to protect the innocent. This was a vastly different feeling than filling out Form 23 Delta. He looked at his stats. He had leveled up. You have leveled up. You are now level 4. His mana was low, but his ectoplasm count was healthy, 29. He needed to find a more permanent solution, a true sanctuary. He used Ectoscan Advanced, expanding his perception. He saw a faint, almost imperceptible beacon of pure non-ectoplasmic energy in the distance, a structure that was actively repelling the spectral corruption. It was the Grand Cathedral of Ethel, his workplace. Not just a bureaucratic hub, but also a spiritual fortress. It would be a journey, but it was the safest place. "We're going to the cathedral," Arthur announced to the survivors. "It's the safest place. But we need to move carefully. The streets are dangerous." He knew they would need more than simple ectoplasmic sigils to make the journey. He needed to craft proper equipment. His ectoplasm crafting Tier 1 could do more than just sigils. He looked at the antique shop, at the shelves filled with trinkets and forgotten treasures. He needed something that could hold and focus ectoplasmic energy. He spotted a set of small, ornate handbells. Perfect. He channeled his ectoplasm and mana into one of the bells. The metal shimmered, infused with green light. Ecto-dispersal chime, basic, crafted. Description: a handheld device that, when rung, emits a short-range pulse of ectoplasmic energy, pushing back weak spectral entities and disrupting minor possession attempts. Mana cost 15s per ring. Requires 5 ectoplasm. He crafted 3 of them, handing one to the most courageous-looking survivor, a woman named Alara, who seemed to have some natural leadership qualities. "Ring this if anything gets too close. It'll push them back." He also crafted a few ectoplasmic lanterns. Requires 3 ectoplasm. Simple glowing green lanterns that would provide continuous low-level spectral deterrence. He handed them out, creating a small, glowing procession. With his meager supplies and his small band of frightened, ordinary people, Arthur, the former clerk, now the Ecto-Technician apprentice, prepared to lead them through the haunted city, towards the sanctuary of the Grand Cathedral. The glitch in the veil was just beginning, and he knew this was just the first step in a far larger, more terrifying journey. The journey to the Grand Cathedral of Ethel was a perilous gauntlet through a city transformed into a chaotic, spectral battleground. The ectoplasmic lanterns cast an eerie green glow, pushing back the lowest-tier phantoms, but the streets were swarming with more dangerous entities. Kale's Ecto-Scan Advanced was a lifesaver, painting a holographic map of spectral energy. He guided the survivors through alleyways and abandoned buildings, avoiding main thoroughfares where larger, more powerful spectral entities patrolled. He saw wailing specters, level 8 entities that could paralyze with fear, drifting through the sky, and shadow stalkers, level 10 entities that could phase through walls, creeping through darkened doorways. His own skills were tested constantly. When a small group of lesser corrupted blocked their path, he used Ectoblast Basic to stun them, then had the survivors ring their ecto-dispersal chimes in unison, creating a focused wave of ectoplasmic force that pushed the creatures back, giving them time to flee. His group morale boost, Minor, was surprisingly effective. When panic threatened to seize the survivors, he would subtly activate it, humming a low, calming frequency that seemed to steady their nerves, allowing them to follow his commands without question. He was becoming a leader, a strange spectral shepherd. You have gained 50 EXP from navigating dangerous terrain. You have gained 10 ectoplasm from successfully evading threats. As they drew closer to the cathedral, the ambient dissonance increased. The spectral entities became more numerous, more aggressive. He saw powerful, shimmering barriers of light around the cathedral, repelling the spectral tide. But getting to the entrance was the problem. A horde of minor phantoms and lesser corrupted swarmed a bottleneck alleyway, effectively blocking their path. He couldn't blast them all. His mana was nearing depletion, and his ectoplasm was running low. He needed a more efficient method of dealing with multiple targets. He looked at his system interface. He had enough EXP to level up. You have enough EXP to level up. Confirm? YN, he confirmed. A rush of energy, cold and invigorating, washed over him. You have leveled up. You are now level 5. New skill point acquired.
Dexterity, Dex, +1. Wisdom, WS, +1.
Mana regeneration increased by 5%. New skill acquired, ectoplasmic net. Active. Throws a projectile ectoplasmic net that can ensnare multiple weak to medium-strength spectral entities, temporarily binding them. Mana cost 30, requires 10 ectoplasm. This was exactly what he needed. Control, Alara, take point, use your chime if anything gets too close. Arthur instructed. He poured his remaining ectoplasm and mana into his new skill. A shimmering green net of pure ectoplasmic energy materialized in his hands. He hurled it forward. It expanded midair, encompassing the entire horde in the bottleneck. The phantoms shrieked, the lesser corrupted snarled, as they were all caught and bound by the ethereal threads. They thrashed, but the net held, pulsing with powerful ectoplasmic energy. Ectoplasmic net has successfully ensnared 20 minor phantoms and 5 lesser corrupted. "Now run!" Arthur yelled. The survivors sprinted through the now clear path. Arthur, carefully watching the net, waited until the last survivor was through, then activated his basic spirit ward, basic as a distraction, creating a shimmering barrier behind them before running to catch up. The net would hold for a few minutes, giving them a lead. They burst out of the alleyway and into the massive plaza before the cathedral. The sight was a mixture of relief and renewed horror. The cathedral glowed, a powerful bastion of divine light, but its outer defenses were being battered. Higher-level spectral entities, huge and terrifying, were trying to breach the magical wards. A massive poltergeist king, level 15, was slamming against the main gates, its form a whirlwind of screaming faces and flying debris. Revenant knights, level 12, armored in spectral plates, marched relentlessly towards the weaker points of the wall, their ghostly swords passing harmlessly through stone, but leaving behind trails of ectoplasmic decay. And among them, a horrifying sight, several figures in the robes of cultists of the Veil, human zealots who worshipped the spectral corruption. They were attempting to weaken the cathedral's wards, their rituals creating massive, pulsating zones of dissonance. Arthur's ectoscan advanced, showed him the weak points in the cathedral's wards, sections where the cultists were making progress. If the cultists succeeded, the cathedral would fall, and there would be no safe haven. Urgent quest: secure the cathedral. Description: the Grand Cathedral of Ethel, a vital sanctuary, is under attack from both spectral entities and cultists of the Veil. Objective: neutralize the cultists of the Veil and reinforce the cathedral's wards. Reward: 500 EXP, 100 ectoplasm. Favor of the Divine Order, access to cathedral archives. Failure: cathedral falls, all survivors perish. Arthur directed the survivors to a smaller, less contested side entrance, protected by a dedicated paladin guard. "Get inside! You're safe there!" He could see the exhausted paladin, a holy knight, level 20, holding the line, his holy light barely flickering. But he was fighting a losing battle against a wave of revenant knights. Arthur knew he couldn't take on the poltergeist king or the revenant knights. But the cultists were human. They might be corrupted, but they were still technically flesh and blood. And his skills, his Ecto-Technician class, was perfectly designed to counter their dissonance. He focused his ectoscan advanced on the cultists. He could see the intricate patterns of their dissonance rituals, the shimmering dark lines they were using to erode the cathedral's wards. And he saw their primary weakness: their physical forms were susceptible to concentrated ectoplasmic energy. He had some ectoplasm left. He had mana. He had to stop them. He stealthily approached the nearest group of cultists. Using his new Ecto-Blend Minor skill, a passive gained from leveling up his rogue subclass, to make his form subtly shimmer, blending with the spectral energies around him. He slipped past a lumbering grave golem, level 18, and a group of frantic minor phantoms. He reached the edge of the cultist ritual circle. 3 of them chanted, their voices a discordant drone, focusing their energies on a shimmering wardstone. If that stone broke, the wards would falter. Arthur gathered his remaining mana and ectoplasm. He aimed, he fired, Ectoblast, Basic, X2 on Cultist of the Veil. Spectral Strike, Basic, on Cultist of the Veil. The first cultist shrieked as the ectoplasmic energy tore through their physical form. The second staggered. Arthur, moving with a surprising burst of speed, darted in and used his silver dagger, its blade glowing on the third. The blade didn't just cut. It drained, disrupting their dissonant energy. Cultist of the Veil defeated. 3, you have gained 75 EXP. You have gained 15 ectoplasm. Dissonance disrupted. Cathedral ward integrity restored by 5%. The cultists were down. the dissonance they were generating dissipated. The wardstone, which had been flickering, stabilized. The holy knight on the gate, momentarily relieved from the pressure, glanced at Arthur with a bewildered expression. Arthur, panting, felt a deep exhaustion, but also a surge of fierce determination. He had bought them time. He had held the line. He was an Ecto-Technician, and he was ready for whatever the Spectral Convergence threw at him next. With the cultists neutralized and the cathedral wards partially restored, Arthur was finally able to enter the sanctuary. The Grand Cathedral of Ethel was a marvel, its holy aura a powerful deterrent to the spectral tide outside. Inside, the air was clean, bright, and blessedly free of ectoplasmic haze. The Holy Knight, a burly man named Sir Kale, clapped Arthur on the shoulder, his grip surprisingly gentle. "Unbelievable work, Maestro. Or should I say Ecto-Technician? I've never seen such unconventional combat." Arthur just nodded, too exhausted to speak. He watched as the survivors were led to a secure section of the cathedral. He had fulfilled his quest. Urgent quest, secure the cathedral, complete. You have gained 500 EXP. You have gained 100 ectoplasm. Favor of the Divine Order granted. Access to cathedral archives unlocked. He immediately felt a surge of energy, and his mind felt sharper, ready to absorb knowledge. You have leveled up. You are now level 6. New skill point acquired. Intelligence, INT, +1. Wisdom, WS, +1. Mana regeneration increased by 5%. New skill acquired. Ectoplasm infusion, basic, active. Allows the Maestro to temporarily infuse an object or a willing target with minor ectoplasmic energy, granting minor spectral damage or resistance. Mana cost 25. Requires 15 ectoplasm. The Divine Order, represented by a stern but grateful High Cleric, acknowledged his service. Adjudicator Finch, your actions have saved countless lives and preserved this holy bastion. The system's records indicate you have access to the cathedral archives. Seek answers there, for this spectral convergence is unlike anything we have ever faced. We will hold the line here. You must find a way to end this. The cathedral archives were a treasure trove of ancient texts, scrolls, and system-bound knowledge. It was exactly what Arthur needed. He spent hours, then days in the archives, his debunking theory, passive skill, now working overtime to analyze every piece of lore and theory about spectral phenomena. His ectoscan, advanced, allowed him to perceive residual ectoplasmic traces on ancient artifacts, like listening to echoes of history. He discovered fragments of information about previous, smaller-scale veil breaches, incidents where the spirit realm had momentarily bled into the physical. He learned about the nature of ectoplasm, not just energy, but condensed spiritual residue, holding echoes of memory and emotion. He also found tantalizing hints about a forgotten entity, the Echo Weaver. The Echo Weaver was not a deity, but a primordial entity, a kind of cosmic librarian who maintained the integrity of the veil, the ethereal barrier between the physical and spiritual realms. According to fragmented texts, the Echo Weaver had fallen dormant eons ago, its power diminished by a great forgetting that had caused many ancient entities to fade from active memory. Its dormancy, the texts hinted, was the reason the veil was naturally thinning. But the spectral convergence was not natural thinning. It was an aggressive, catastrophic breach. Something had actively torn the veil. He cross-referenced his new knowledge with his ectoscan advanced readings of the ambient ectoplasmic energy levels in the city. The energy was not uniform. It was radiating from a central point, a terrifyingly powerful nexus of spectral dissonance. His debunking theory, passive, kicked in. The initial system alert had called it a glitch. What if it wasn't a natural phenomenon? What if it was engineered? He found the answer in a musty, forgotten tome titled The Heresies of the Void Cult. This ancient cult believed that true power lay not in the system's harmony, but in the chaos beyond the veil. They sought to shatter reality, to merge all realms into a single, formless void. And their ultimate ritual was the Sunder-Chant, a powerful anti-hymn designed to tear the veil and unleash raw, uncontrolled spectral energies. The spectral convergence wasn't a natural disaster. It was an attack. New core quest, investigate the Sunder-Chant. Description: The Spectral Convergence is an engineered event, caused by the Void Cult's Sunder-Chant ritual. Objective: locate the source of the Sunder-Chant, believed to be within the abandoned Whispering Necropolis catacombs beneath the city. Reward: access to greater ecto-manipulation. Legendary title: Veil Warden. Failure: irreversible merging of realms, complete system corruption, the Whispering Necropolis. An ancient, sprawling network of catacombs beneath the city, filled with the undisturbed dead for millennia. Now it would be the epicenter of the spectral apocalypse. He would need stronger skills. He had 100 ectoplasm. He looked at his ectoplasm crafting Tier 1 skill, remembering his upgraded Ecto-Technician class. He also recalled his rogue subclass. Stealth would be crucial in the necropolis. He spent the rest of his time in the cathedral crafting. He crafted ectoplasmic grenades, Tier 1, small orbs of volatile ectoplasm that would explode on impact, dealing area of effect spectral damage, requires 20 ectoplasm, 30 mana per grenade. He also crafted ectovision goggles from Tier 1, which enhanced his ectoscan advanced and gave him limited true sight of invisible spectral entities, requires 30 ectoplasm. He knew his silver dagger was good, but he needed a longer reach. He found a sturdy old broom handle, clunky but effective. He used ectoplasm infusion, basic, on it, infusing it with his own ectoplasmic energy. Custom weapon created, ecto staff, basic. Description: a simple staff infused with ectoplasmic energy. Deals spectral damage and has a chance to briefly stun spectral entities on hit. Grants access to staff proficiency, basic. New skill acquired, staff proficiency, basic. Passive: improves combat effectiveness with staff-type weapons. He felt a new surge of determination. He wasn't just a debunker, not just a survivor. He was an Ecto-Technician apprentice, a ghost hunter, and a rogue. He was the system's last best hope against the Spectral Convergence. The Whispering Necropolis awaited. The Whispering Necropolis was a labyrinth of ancient tombs and decaying crypts, plunged into an unnatural twilight. The air was thick with the dust of ages and the suffocating pressure of raw ectoplasmic energy. Kale's ectovision goggles hummed, painting the world in shifting shades of green and purple, revealing countless spectral entities drifting through the crumbling stonework. This was the heart of the Spectral Convergence. His ectoscan, advanced, picked up the source of the Sunder-Chant, a massive, pulsating concentration of dissonance deep within the necropolis, a malignant tumor of anti-reality. He had to reach it. He moved with caution. His ectostaff, basic, held ready. His rogue subclass skills were invaluable. He used stealth to bypass roaming groups of grave specters, level 10, and restless undead, level 8, animated by pure ectoplasm. His minor lockpicking skill allowed him to open rusty iron gates and crypt doors, creating alternative paths when main corridors were too heavily infested. The ambient ectoplasmic energy was so intense that Kale began to feel its effects. His mana regenerated faster, but a new meter appeared on his interface. Ecto-corruption 5%. The system warned, prolonged exposure to high ectoplasmic environments can lead to undesirable mutations or partial possession. He couldn't stay here forever. He had to be quick. He encountered his first challenge in a large, open burial chamber. A group of void cultists, level 12, humanoid, easily identifiable by their black robes and glowing purple runes, were performing a lesser ritual, attempting to awaken a powerful spectral guardian. They chanted in low, guttural tones, their dissonant energy making the air crackle. He deployed his ectoplasmic grenades. He threw 2 of them into the cultists' midst. The grenades exploded in a burst of green ectoplasmic energy, sending the cultists sprawling. They shrieked, their dissonant auras sputtering as the raw ectoplasm tore at their physical forms. Void cultist defeated. X2, you have gained 50 EXP. You have gained 10 ectoplasm. 1 cultist remained, severely wounded, trying to complete the ritual. He had awakened a crypt guardian, level 14, a hulking spectral entity made of bone and ectoplasm, which was slowly materializing. Kale darted forward, his ectostaff, basic, swinging. He landed a solid hit, the staff glowing as it connected, briefly stunning the cultist. He followed up with a spectral strike, basic, from his silver dagger, finishing the cultist. Void Cultist defeated. You have gained 25 EXP. You have gained 5 ectoplasm. The Crypt Guardian, now without its summoner, roared. It was still materializing, but it was aggressive. Kale knew he couldn't take it head-on. He used Ectoblast Basic to disrupt its formation, then retreated into a side passage, sealing it with a quickly crafted ectoplasmic barricade, Tier 1. Requires 15 ectoplasm, 25 mana. Ectoplasmic barricade, Tier 1, crafted. Description: a temporary ectoplasm-reinforced barrier that can block weak to medium-strength physical and spectral entities. He continued deeper, the dissonance growing more intense. He found murals depicting the Echo Weaver, a colossal, ethereal being with countless eyes, seemingly woven from pure light and shadow, tending to the veil. But the murals also showed its slow fading, its eyes growing dim until only fragmented echoes remained. He understood. The Echo Weaver was the ultimate counter to this, but it was dormant. He needed to find a way to reawaken it, to play the right frequencies to its ancient, slumbering consciousness. He came to a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow. In the center, a monumental stone altar pulsed with dark, swirling energy. Surrounding it were dozens of void cultists and several massive spectral abominations, level 20+, hulking masses of corrupted ectoplasm barely contained by the cultists' ritual. At the head of the ritual, a robed figure whose aura pulsed with immense dissonant power conducted the Sunder-Chant. This was the Void Speaker, level? The leader of the Void Cult, the one orchestrating the Spectral Convergence. New boss encounter, the Void Speaker. Warning: extreme dissonance detected. Prepare for significant ecto-corruption. Kale felt his ecto-corruption meter spike to 20%. His body tingled with unnatural cold. He knew he couldn't fight them all. He had to interrupt the ritual to silence the Sunder-Chant. His ecto-scan, advanced, showed him that the Sunder-Chant was being amplified by 4 massive, pulsating ectoplasmic resonators embedded in the walls around the chamber. These resonators were channeling the dissonance directly into the veil, tearing it apart. He needed to destroy those resonators. But they were guarded by powerful spectral abominations. He was level 6. They were level 20+. He couldn't go toe-to-toe with them. He needed a plan. He noticed something else with his ectoscan advanced. The spectral dissonance, while powerful, was chaotic. It was not a perfectly synchronized harmony, but a raw, uncontrolled explosion of anti-energy. The Void Speaker was controlling it barely. But if he could overload those resonators with pure ectoplasmic energy, a controlled burst of true ectoplasm, it might create a harmonic feedback loop that would damage the resonators and disrupt the ritual. He still had some ectoplasm left. He had to craft something new, something powerful enough to overload those resonators. He focused his mana, pushing his ectoplasm crafting Tier 1 to its limit. He needed a conduit, something that could project a sustained, concentrated beam of ectoplasmic energy. His eyes fell on a pile of broken bones and fragments of spectral crystal near his hiding spot. He began to work, his fingers nimble, shaping the materials. He infused it with every last bit of ectoplasm he had and nearly all his mana. Advanced ectoplasmic projector, prototype, crafted. Description: a powerful single-use device capable of emitting a focused beam of concentrated ectoplasmic energy. High mana and ectoplasm cost, volatile. Effect: ectoplasmic overload, focused. Active. Mana cost, all remaining mana requires 50 ectoplasm. Single use, he had one shot. He had to be precise. He had to aim for the resonators one by one. And he had to do it without being noticed by the Void Speaker or its monstrous guardians. He activated his ectovision goggles, the world now a swirling maelstrom of spectral energy. He located the first resonator, shimmering with dark purple dissonance. He took a deep breath, channeled his mana into the prototype projector, and prepared to strike. The fate of the Veil and perhaps the world rested on his hands. Arthur, the unlikeliest of heroes, clutched the advanced ectoplasmic projector, prototype, its crystalline components humming with raw power. His ecto-corruption meter flickered ominously at 25%. He could feel the pervasive cold of the necropolis seeping into his bones, and the dissonance of the Sunder-Chant pounding against his mind. The Void Speaker, A towering figure cloaked in shadows and glowing purple runes intensified the ritual, its voice echoing with a malignant power. The spectral abominations writhed, their forms growing more solid, more terrifying. The veil was tearing. Kale's rogue skills were critical here. He activated stealth, blending into the deeper shadows of the crypt, his movements silent as a ghost. His ectovision goggles highlighted the 4 resonators, massive conduits of dissonance embedded in the chamber walls, their purple energy flowing towards the altar. He aimed the projector at the first resonator. It was a risky shot, requiring perfect timing and concentration. He poured his remaining mana into the device. A concentrated beam of pure, vibrant green ectoplasmic energy shot from the projector, piercing the oppressive dissonance. The beam slammed into the first resonator. Instead of simply disrupting it, the pure ectoplasm created a violent harmonic feedback loop. The resonator shrieked, its dark energy convulsing, and then exploded in a shower of sparks and dissolving ectoplasmic residue. Ectoplasmic overload. Focused. Successful. Dissonant resonator 1-4 destroyed. Sunder-Chant disrupted. Cultist mana regeneration temporarily reduced. You have gained 100 EXP. The void speaker paused, its head snapping towards the source of the blast. Its voice faltered, and the spectral abominations shimmered, their forms momentarily losing cohesion. Arthur didn't wait. He moved, a blur of shadow and purpose, reloading the prototype. It required a moment of focus to draw more ambient ectoplasm, and targeting the second resonator. He fired. Another blast of green energy. Another violent explosion. Dissonant resonator 2-4 destroyed. Sunder-Chant further disrupted. Spectral abomination attack speed temporarily reduced. You have gained 100 EXP. The void speaker roared, a sound that ripped through the very fabric of the chamber. Silence this pest. Find him. Its voice was laced with pure dissonance, striking directly at Arthur's mind. His ecto-corruption spiked to 35%, a wave of nausea washing over him. The spectral abominations turned, their glowing eyes sweeping the chamber, their vast forms moving with surprising speed. Kyle was still stealthed, but he knew it wouldn't last against such powerful entities. He needed to be faster. He needed to be bolder. He had 2 resonators left. He broke stealth, drawing their attention, then immediately launched an ectoplasmic net at the closest spectral abomination. The net, charged with pure ectoplasm, slammed into the creature, temporarily binding its form. Ectoplasmic net has successfully ensnared Spectral Abomination, level 20. While the monster struggled, Kale fired the prototype projector at the third resonator. Dissonant resonator, 304, destroyed. Sunder-Chant severely disrupted. Void cultist skill accuracy reduced. You have gained 100 EXP. Only 1 resonator remained. But the void speaker was now enraged. It launched a wave of pure dissonance directly at Kale. He barely dodged, the anti-energy ripping through the air where he had been standing, leaving a trail of shimmering gray corruption. His ecto-corruption hit 50%. He felt a freezing cold dread, a profound sense of despair trying to overwhelm his mind. He knew he couldn't sustain this. He had to end it. He targeted the final resonator. The void speaker, seeing his intent, began to charge, its form growing larger, more menacing, radiating pure hatred. One of the spectral abominations broke free of his net, roaring as it lunged. Kyle ignored them all. His focus was absolute. He aimed the prototype projector, channeling the last of his will and mana into the device. The final beam shot forth, a brilliant spear of green energy striking the last resonator. The explosion was cataclysmic. All 4 dissonant resonators blew apart in a chain reaction, releasing a massive wave of pure ectoplasmic energy. The Sunder-Chant ritual shattered, its dissonance ripping itself apart. Dissonant resonator 4-4 destroyed. Sunder-Chant aborted. Massive ectoplasmic harmonic feedback loop generated. Void speaker critically damaged. Stunned! All spectral abominations disrupted, fading. All void cultists purged of dissonance. Stunned! You have gained 500 EXP. The entire necropolis shuddered. The ambient ectoplasmic haze, which had been so oppressive, began to thin, pulled back by the cleansing wave of pure ectoplasm. The spectral entities, no longer fueled by the Sunder-Chant, began to fade, their forms losing cohesion. The void speaker was exposed. Its shadowy cloak was shredded, revealing a gaunt, human-like figure, its face contorted in agony and rage. The dissonance had been ripped from its very being, leaving it weakened and vulnerable. It thrashed, trying to gather its strength, but the harmonic feedback loop had devastated it. Arthur was panting, his body shaking from the massive energy expenditure and the receding ecto-corruption. He had won. He had stopped the Sunder-Chant. But the Void Speaker was still a threat. He knew he couldn't beat the Void Speaker in a direct fight. He was still level 6, but he had purged it of its dissonance. It was still powerful, but it was no longer channeling the anti-reality of the Void. It was merely a very powerful, very angry dark mage now. He remembered the Echo Weaver, the entity that maintained the veil. It was dormant, but it was intrinsically linked to pure ectoplasmic energy. He had just flooded the necropolis with an unprecedented amount of pure ectoplasm. What if? He looked at the collapsing Void Speaker, and then at his own ectoplasm infusion basic skill. He knew he had to finish this, not with a killing blow, but with a different kind of weapon, a bureaucratic one. The Void Speaker, its power diminished, thrashed on the altar, its robed form smoking. It let out a weak guttural curse. You insignificant pest! You have delayed the inevitable! The veil, it must break! Arthur, his body trembling with exhaustion, knew he couldn't let it recover. The Sunder-Chant was aborted, but the veil was still weakened. The Spectral Convergence was still a threat, albeit a receding one. He focused his ecto-scan, advanced. He could see it now, clearly. Not just the ambient ectoplasm, but the latent spiritual energy of the entire necropolis, the accumulated essence of countless forgotten souls. This was the Echo Weaver's domain. The pure ectoplasm from the exploding resonators, amplified by his own skills, had permeated everything. The Echo Weaver, the cosmic librarian, the Veil Keeper, dormant for eons. Its very being was linked to the stability of the veil and to pure ectoplasmic energy. He had a theory. An audacious one. He raised his ectostaff, basic, not as a weapon, but as a conductor. He began to hum, a low, resonant tone, channeling his remaining mana into his ectoplasm infusion, basic skill. But instead of infusing an object, he focused it outwards, into the very air, into the pervasive ectoplasm of the necropolis. He wasn't fighting. He was composing. He started with a precise low frequency, a hum that resonated with the ancient dust and stone. He then added a higher, purer tone, drawing from the fading spectral entities, from the ambient echoes of peaceful spirits now released from the Sunder-Chant's influence. He was creating a song of ectoplasmic harmony, a lullaby of balance, not of chaos. The Void Speaker watched, bewildered, then with dawning horror. "What are you doing?" "This is not battle, not void." Arthur ignored him. He was performing. His wisdom and intelligence attributes, now far higher than when he was a simple clerk, were firing on all cylinders, guiding his composition. He was using the very ectoplasm around them, the raw essence of the spirit realm, to sing to the dormant consciousness of the Echo Weaver. His ecto-corruption meter slowly, miraculously, began to recede, as the pure ectoplasmic harmony pushed back against the lingering dissonance. The very walls of the necropolis began to hum. The ectoplasmic glow intensified, not with chaotic green, but with a soft, pulsing silver light. The dust motes in the air began to coalesce, forming faint, shimmering patterns. Then, from the shadows of the highest reaches of the chamber, a colossal, ethereal form began to manifest. It was vast beyond comprehension, made of shifting light and shadow, with countless eyes that shimmered with cosmic wisdom. It was the Echo Weaver, awakened. The Void Speaker screamed, a sound of pure, unadulterated terror. "The Weaver! No, it is a myth! A memory, it cannot be." The Echo Weaver did not speak in words. It spoke in pure resonance. A wave of cosmic energy, a vast, comforting hum washed over the necropolis. It wasn't an attack. It was an affirmation, an assertion of order. The remaining spectral entities, no longer fueled by the Sunder-Chant, and now directly observed by the Echo Weaver, were instantly recognized, categorized, and gently, irrevocably, guided back beyond the now mending veil. The shimmering breaches in reality snapped shut. The Spectral Convergence was over. The Void Speaker, unable to exist in the newly reinforced reality, its dissonance purged, its very being now an anathema to the Weaver's harmony, began to dissolve. Its form unraveled, turning into dust and faint, resentful whispers. World threat neutralized, void speaker has been erased. Catastrophic event, the Spectral Convergence, resolved. Core quest, investigate the Sunder-Chant, complete. Massive EXP bonus awarded 500,000 EXP. Your level is now capped at 10 until you undergo a class apotheosis. All core Ecto-Technician skills have been upgraded to sovereign rank. You have gained the legendary title, Veil Warden. The Echo Weaver has acknowledged your service. New passive skill acquired, Weaver's Insight. Passive, grants enhanced perception of dimensional barriers and spiritual energies. Minor passive resistance to all forms of spectral influence. New skill acquired, Veil Mend, Basic. Active, allows the Veil Warden to temporarily reinforce minor breaches in the veil. Monocost, variable. Arthur stood amidst the quieted necropolis, his ecto-staff, Basic, lowered. The Echo Weaver, its colossal form now stabilizing the entire chamber, slowly receded, its gaze lingering on Arthur for a moment, an acknowledgement of his unique role. He was no longer just Arthur Finch, the clerk who debunked ghosts. He was the Veil Warden, the Grand Ecto-Technician, the one who had navigated the system's bureaucracy, the city's spectral streets, and the ancient horrors of the necropolis to save the world from the Spectral Convergence. He had faced the ultimate haunting, and he had won, not with brute force, but with a deeper understanding of the system, of ectoplasm, and of the fundamental laws that govern both the living and the dead. The glitch in the veil was repaired, and Arthur, the unlikeliest of heroes, was ready for his next case. The system, after all, always had more paperwork.